On today's show, James Harden history. Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, been a Clipper fan for 21 years, been covering the team on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for 6 and 4 right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. The number one sports podcast network, your team every day. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video, on the road to 8,000 subscribers before the end of November. And of course, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Clipper Nation, we have a historic game to talk about, a moment in history, as James Harden scores 55 points, the most ever for an LA Clipper. What a game to witness. We're going to also be talking about the help that he received in this game to get us a win and the little resurgence of Chris Paul, including the news that this will be his final season. So let's get underway Let's just get right away. Let's just get right into it. James Harden. You know, this guy's been carrying the load for this team without Kawhi Leonard. And going into this game, we were 1-8 without Kawhi. But man, talk about putting on the cape. An absolutely electric display of offense. It started with that Zoo and Harden pick and roll in that first quarter. They had Brandon Miller as the best defender on Harden. Like, they really had no good point of attack defenders. You had LaMelo on Chris Dunn, Brandon Miller on James, Kalkbrenner on Zoo, Miles Bridges on John Collins, and Knoopel on Kobe Sanders. And James was targeting the likes of LaMelo Ball and even Brandon Miller and Knoopel. None of these guys could stay in front of him. He was turning, and in the pick and roll, they were in drop coverage, and they had no resistance when it came to him coming off the screens or the screen navigation aspect. He was turning the corner into wide open threes, wide open floaters, and it really just began in the first quarter. It was his third straight game of scoring 10 or more in the first. And the thing I always wonder when he does it is he going to run out of gas? 27 points in the first quarter of this game, which tied a career high for him in the 2019-20 season. Just torching LaMelo Ball on switches. But 27 in the first quarter. He was hitting threes, mid-ranges, floaters. And the thing I really loved about his approach in this game, besides the fact that he was relentlessly getting downhill, embracing the floater. I talked about a couple of games ago where he was passing up some of those floaters. He's got to take them. The mid-range. When he's knocking down the mid-range, he is unstoppable because it really diversifies his shot profile that is kind of not very broad at times. It's a lot of step back threes and downhill layups, and that's about it. When he incorporates the floater and the mid-range into his game, he becomes a totally different threat, in my opinion. And we were seeing all of that in this game against the Charlotte Hornets. And it came after the Hornets started out 6 for 6 on the field. Like, they actually started out pretty hot. They went on a 7-0 run after they were down 6-8. But then Harden led us to a 22-4 run to end the first quarter, in which we led 38-30. He was just virtuoso, just scorching hot. And when I knew he was scorching hot is when he hit a step back going to his left. Usually he always hits a step back going to his right, but when he's hitting it going to his left, that's when he's really feeling it. Not to say that he doesn't do it, but it's not nearly as frequent, and the stats back that up. But he was feeling it when he was just basically hitting every three. And even off the catch, when Chris Paul came into the game, they shared some minutes for a second, and he found James Harden in transition for a right wing three, and that's when I knew he was really feeling himself with his jump shot. But Zubats, I mentioned he was setting the screens for the Zoo Harden pick and roll. He had some good finishes in that first quarter as well, taking advantage of Kalkbrenner and drop coverage. And as I said, I was just wondering if James would run out of gas, but he came back in After the second unit, and I'll talk about them in the second segment, the second unit held their own. Harden comes back in. He even cut to the basket off ball. Like, this is rare stuff from James. Cutting to the basket off ball, mid-ranges, step backs going left. He just pulled out all the stops in this game. Showed off the full repertoire. 35 points at halftime. 6 3-pointers. Most by any player this season and a half. Even more than Joker against us. On pace for 70. But we did get a little cold to end the first half, and the Hornets made some shots to cut it down to 5. So they actually outscored us in the second quarter, 27-24. So again, all I was wondering going into the second half, would James Harden run out of gas, or would he have the legs to finish the job? And for a second, the Hornets made it 74-72. They were kind of creeping up. But John Collins got a nice and one on an offensive board, and then they doubled him in the post, and he made a good pass out of the double that led to Chris Dunn finding Ivica Zubac for a bucket. And then James Harden, he started getting double teamed by when he was going up against LaMelo Ball in isolation. They started throwing 2 at him, but Harden had another 4-point play that was his second of the game and capped off a 19-4 run and had 43 points through 3 quarters. And I just thought it was a virtuoso performance. 34-25, we outscored them in the third. And then in the fourth quarter, he made some more shots and finished the job. They also were double teaming him, blitzing him. He was making the right reads, getting guys like Kobe Sanders and Chris Dunn into 4-on-3 situations. So it was just a James Harden masterclass. He did get help, but beyond that, the highest scoring game in franchise history, including Bob McAdoo. We witnessed history, Clipper Nation. And, I made a comment about James in one of the episodes a couple of days ago, and I was like, is he a top 20 Clipper now? Dude, he is doing things to move up in that ranking with not only just the most triple doubles in franchise history, now the highest scoring game in franchise history, and 2 50 balls. Last year's 50 ball changed the course of our season towards the end. Hopefully this one can do the same. But my goodness, James Harden is just adding to his Clipper resume, and I'm going to reserve judgment on where he falls in the all-time Clipper hierarchy till after the season. Because remember, this is only his 3rd year with the team, but he's damn sure made an impact in those 3 years and also just played at a level that we haven't really seen by many Clippers ever. Now, of course, you got to take the stats with a grain of salt because the era, it's the most statistically inflated era since the 60s probably. But the 60s is totally different in terms of the advantages that they gave offensive players. It was just very high-paced. And the free throw rule, if you don't know about the free throw rule, look that up. But I'll inform you. Every foul was a shooting where you shot 1 free throw, even if it was on the ground until 1972-73. That's part of why everybody scored so much in the 60s, because even if it was a loose ball foul, I think the loose ball foul they changed in like 1970 where that wasn't free throws, but literally if you reached, it was a 1 free throw. So that's inflation as well. But it's not about the inflation for me, it's not about the stats with Harden. It's the level that he's played at as a Clipper. Like, the stats are great, but it's just the level. You know what I'm saying? That's where you can really compare. And he's been incredible. So 55 points, a franchise record, to go along with 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, and how about 2 turnovers? How about the fact that the team took care of the ball, and it starts with James, but we only turned the ball over 10 times as a team, and I think that's absolutely huge. James shot 17 for 26 from the field, 10 for 16 from downtown, and 11 for 14 from the free throw line in 35 minutes. 55 points in 35 minutes. Simply one of the greatest performances in franchise history. And I have to say, the Charlotte Hornets just reminded me what a bad team looked like. They could not guard at all. I don't know how they didn't start blitzing James Harden earlier. Maybe their strategy was to just let him cook and then burn out. And there was no burnout. And finally, a team missed shots. Like I talked about it the last episode. I said, we're going to go through a stretch where teams are going to miss and we're going to start making a little bit more than we are. And the law of averages will work itself out. Because I feel like we're not playing good defense, but we're not playing as horrible of defense as the numbers might suggest. We've been playing certain teams and certain guys that have just been on heaters against us. And it was really nice that we shot better than the Hornets on the field, 51 for us, 48 for them. And mainly from the 3-point line. They shot 31% from 3. We shot 44% from 3. 10 of those 19 coming from the man of the hour, James Harden, who is carrying this team right now, helped us get the win 131-116. I just hope he doesn't burn out by December. 5-11, the record now for the Clippers, our second road win of the season. We are now 2-3 on the road trip with Cleveland and our former hallway neighbors to close the trip. But coming up, James Harden might have had 55 points and carried the load, but he couldn't do it all by himself. I'm going to talk about what kind of performances we got from the others that helped us get the W. I got to tell you a little something about Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save me hours every week. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnba and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnba. One more time, that's gusto.com/lockedonnba. I got to tell you about a little something about Wayfair. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. If you've ever hosted family for the holidays, you know how much difference a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes that easy. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. All right, so the Clippers winning 131-116 in Charlotte behind a James Harden masterclass that went down as the greatest scoring performance in Clipper history with 55 points. James Harden now has the highest scoring performances in Rockets and Clipper history, which is quite the amazing feat for any player. So congratulations to him. But he couldn't do it all by himself, even though it was pretty close to a, carry job. But he needed some help. And I think he got it in the form of a lot of different guys on this ball club today or on Saturday. And, where do I begin? I think the non-Harden minutes are very interesting because it's nervy. They haven't looked good this season, especially without Kawhi. Bogey didn't play in this game. He was out with a sore left hip, and we also didn't have Jordan Miller. So who did we get instead? We got Nico off the bench. We got Brook Lopez off the bench. Cam Christie off the bench, CP3, and then 8 minutes of Kobe Brown. Kobe Brown in those 8 minutes was 0 for 1, shot at 3, and had a turnover, and had a donut overall. So not much to report from him. As I've said with Kobe Brown, great kid, super nice. Don't know if he's an NBA player, though. But the other 4 guys that came off the bench, I thought held their own. And it starts with CP3, who I'll be talking about a little bit more later. But he was able to control the game, to do what we thought he would be able to do. Another player who hasn't been good and played pretty well in this game was Brook Lopez. Now, he doesn't rebound, but he was knocking down pick and pop shots, pick and pop threes with Chris Paul alongside him when the Charlotte Hornets, were in drop coverage, which makes me, again, wonder their strategy. The one thing you don't want to do right now against Chris Paul to get him going is play drop coverage. You want to switch or hedge to get the ball out of Chris Paul's hands, show ball pressure, and get him to make these uncharacteristic mistakes with the ball that he's been making lately. But mainly when you switch, you force Brook Lopez at his age to post you up, and he doesn't want to get deep post position because it takes effort out of him. So he'd rather just catch the ball 15 feet away and take like a contested one-legged fade, and Chris Paul's not getting by any big men anymore. So you should switch that 1-5 pick and roll. instead of dropping and allowing Chris Paul or Brook Lopez to get wide open shots. So Brook Lopez had 11 points off the bench, 1 board, 1 assist, 1 block, no turnovers on 4 for 10 shooting and 3 for 7 from 3 in 15 minutes. We'll take 11 points in 15 minutes and +7 in his minutes. We will absolutely take that. So here's my take with Brook Lopez and even to some degree Chris Paul. Against bad teams, they might be able to be fine, but against good teams, I don't know. That's my honest truth with them. Brook Lopez, I still think he's better than the Mo Bambas and like he's better than those guys in my opinion. Mo Bamba and Drew Eubanks that we had last year, but he just hasn't been great. Some people were suggesting that he's been worse. I don't know about that. I really don't. I know he's slow and whatever, but I still think with his pick and pop threes, he offers more than what Mo Bamba did. Now, another guy who gave us some good shooting and some much needed 3-pointers, Nicholas Batum. 9 points, 3 boards, 2 steals, no turnovers. So same with Brook Lopez, no turnovers. 3 for 4 from the field, and all those shots were threes. You got Nico shooting 75% from deep. That is absolutely huge, given that he started the season shooting poorly from deep. And now that we are 16 games into the season, he's now back up to 37%. So just like that, Nico getting right back to where he belongs in terms of his 3-point shooting percentage. And I'm confident that that will continue. And he got booed by the Charlotte crowd because, of course, he had that huge contract over there. And he was disappointing after the 2015-16 season. But, hey, whatever. As Brian Seaman said on the broadcast, their loss, our gain. Cam Christie. I thought he gave us some solid minutes on both ends of the floor. The guy just works hard. He had 8 points and 9 rebounds, so almost a double-double. 8 points, 9 rebounds, 1 steal. Did turn the ball over 3 times, which was more than any bench players combined. So he's got to take better care of the ball. He didn't shoot well either. He was 2 for 8 from the field, 2 for 4 from inside the arc, 0 for 4 from beyond the arc. 4 for 4 from the free throw line in 21 minutes, but he was a +7 in his minutes as well. So we got, Nico was a +18 in 19 minutes. Brook Lopez was a +7. Chris Paul +1. Cam Christie +7. So the second unit actually did not collapse with Harden out of the game, and that was massive in my opinion. And it starts with CP3. And it starts with also playing against a bad team. But let's talk about the other starters for the Clips, alongside James. I thought, like in the second quarter, our defense with James Harden out was perfectly fine. Now, granted, that starts with the best player on the other team is either Colin Sexton or Brandon Miller. It feels like the Hornets with LaMelo out, feels like the Hornets are just a perennially rebuilding team. Like it feels like they're forever in rebuild. So they're young and, they're not going to be as big of a threat to score on us as teams like the Magic or, even the Sixers, the way Maxi's playing. Like this is honestly, I can simplify it like this. When Harden against Dallas was the best player on the floor, we won. Harden in this game, best player on the floor, we won. Against the Sixers, it was Maxey. Against the Magic, you can argue he was the best player on the floor, honestly, but Suggs, that game, honestly, contradicts my point. Harden might have been the best player on the floor, but the Magic just had a better overall team in that game. But in the Sixer game, in this game and the Mavs game, a lot of it was just Harden being the best player on the floor, willing us to a win. But as I said, he got some contributions from other guys. And I thought 2 guys that had some really great synergy in this game were Chris Dunn and Zoo. Chris Dunn did a really good job of finding Zoo, flashing middle, in the middle of the paint to get him those push shots and easy buckets. They even had a really nice give and go where Chris Dunn fed Zoo, I think it was Zoo fed Chris Dunn at the foul line area. Chris Dunn bounced it right back to Zoo on the baseline and he dunked it. And Zoo had a couple of assists looking for Chris Dunn in that dunker spot. And we talked about, I talked about on my Members Only Live and Dime Dropper, that when Zoo's getting double teamed, and I think I've probably mentioned it on Locked On too, when Zoo's getting double teamed, we need to do a better job. The weak side guy, the guy who's in the weak side corner needs to do a better job of flashing towards Zoo to make that pass easier for him. We don't want to force Zoo to throw a cross-court pass or a pass that's long distance because he's not Jokic. He's not freaking even Shaq, passing the ball. You know what I'm saying? Or Wilt Chamberlain. Like, we're not talking about this level of player here. So we need to make things easier for him, and I think Chris Dunn did a great job of that. Chris Dunn in this game had 6 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and here's my favorite stat, 0 turnovers in 27 minutes. I thought he was very solid in this game. Kept LaMelo Ball at bay, who had 18 points, 4 boards, 7 assists, 3 turnovers on 7 for 14 shooting, and 1 for 7 from 3. My problem with LaMelo is he's so three-point dependent. It almost feels like if he's not hitting his three, he just doesn't affect the game in the same way. And then you have Kobe Sanders, who I think has been awesome for us. He plays D. He contests shots. He's got that size where you can't really just bully him. So I think he's been really great. He's been great to watch. Just gives me some hope in terms of our future. But I think defensively and knocking down open shots, that's why he's been able to start and get into the rotation on a win-now team. He's got that size where he can't just get bullied. He's got that intelligence playing multiple years in college where he's a good team defender already. And he does a good job contesting shots. He plays hard. He goes for 50-50 balls. He gets his hand on the ball. Just love what he's done so far. And with James Harden getting blitzed at half court, it was really opening up the game for the likes of Chris Dunn and Kobe Sanders. So when Harden is on a heater like that and teams are just throwing the kitchen sink at him, it makes it so much easier for everybody else. Of course, you can't ask for that kind of stuff from James every night. But man, he's doing the best he can. Kobe Sanders had 11 points, 1 board, 2 assists, 1 steal, and how about no turnovers coming off a 5-turnover game on 3 for 7 shooting, 1 for 4 from deep, and made all 4 of his free throws. And then how about some John Collins? Not the craziest John Collins game, but I think he did his job. And especially in that third quarter when things were getting a little tight, it was 74-72 at one point. We were up, but Collins got an and one on an offensive rebound, and as I said, doubled in the post, made a good pass. He had 10 points, 7 boards, 1 steal, and how about no turnovers for him? And it's been a problem for him so far this season. So have no turnovers, 4 for 10 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, made his only free throw. Didn't have the best shooting game, but overall helped us win. Got in double figures, and we didn't even need the 30 minutes out of him that I've been requesting. And then Zoo. This looked more like Zoo. However, he's playing against a rookie center, and then Moussa Diabate, who was his third-string backup. However, anything to get Zoo going is nice. I thought he finished well around the basket and did a good job rebounding. 18 points, 9 boards. How about 6 assists to 1 turnover? To go along with a block. So I love that 6 assists to 1 turnover on 75% shooting, 9 for 12 from the field. So Harden did get some help, even though he carried. But coming up, going to talk about Chris Paul, his performance, how he's looking lately, and the announcement that came out regarding him on Saturday morning. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now with the NBA, in terms of the FanDuel odds, MVP, we're taking a look at SGA. He's leading, but Jokic is right behind him. Luka third, Giannis fourth, and Tyrese Maxey is fifth. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Clipper Nation, the 131-116 win over the Hornets is our 5th of the season. We're now 5-11 going into Cleveland's the second night of a back-to-back or second day of a back-to-back. Technically, we're in 12th place right now in the West, but only half a game below the 10th seeded Memphis Grizzlies, but it's too early for standings watch anyway. Now, somebody who's been really disappointing for us this season and hasn't helped James Harden as much as we envisioned before the season began was Chris Paul. He's just not looked himself. He has looked like the game has sped up for him, where he's losing the ball, he's picking up his dribble, he's not looking as comfortable with the handle, he can't get by anybody, and he's, getting pressured coming up the court and taking like 10 seconds to get down the court. But we saw a glimpse of Chris Paul, the good basketball player, against the Orlando Magic. And in this game, they were playing drop coverage. So that's open season for CP. And he was making good reads, finding Brook Lopez for the pick and pop threes, getting into the middle of the paint, not even the middle of the paint, but just the middle of the floor where where the Hornets had to collapse a little bit, and then he can kick it out. So playing drop coverage against Chris Paul is foolish. So it was good to see that. Even though he didn't shoot well, 1 for 5 from the field, 1 for 3 from deep. He had 3 points, 4 boards, but 8 assists to 1 turnover. And that's my favorite stat of all because that reminds me of the CP3 that we all know and love. Very low turnover, high assist. So it looks like Chris Paul could be creeping his way back on the rotation, and we really need it. We need that extra shot creation outside of Harden to just preserve him. And because part of the reason we projected this team to be good is because we thought Chris Paul would be competent. He has been poor. He's been a turnover risk, which is not the case with Chris usually, and it's been his handle. He just doesn't look comfortable. But he's starting to look a little better in these last 2 games, so I'm happy we went back to him, and hopefully he can give us something against the Cavs. And to end it off, of course, James Harden deserves all the flowers for the 55-point game, the greatest scoring performance in franchise history in terms of the pure numbers of it all. Obviously did not see the Bob McAdoo games. Definitely the best that I've seen. Although the Detroit game was against a better team last year, so you can debate in the comments, people, which one did you think was better? This one against Charlotte or the one against Detroit? 5 points difference between the two, so let me know. But in terms of Chris Paul, he announced that this would be, or it was announced that this would be his last season. I've been saying that he needs to hang it up after this year because he's just not good enough to play another year, but it really did hit me when I saw that notification, like, this is really it. My first season watching basketball was 05-06, which was Chris Paul's rookie season. So I've only known the NBA with CP. I can't believe he even lasted 21 years. After the arthroscopic knee surgery in 2010, after all the hamstring injuries and the hand injuries and the wrist injuries and the fingers, for him to make it 21 seasons in the league is astonishing. I can't believe it's going to come to an end. It's going to be very emotional, just given what CP's meant to me and, of course, this fan base. But I'm happy he gets to do it with the Clippers. I'm happy he gets to retire as a Clipper. And this was his last game in his home state of North Carolina. He got a nice ovation, but the farewell tour begins now. And I'm just happy he's a Clipper, man. I'm happy he's ending it where he belongs. Gets to say that he played for the Clippers longer than any other organization, with this being his 7th year. And, of course, he played 6 years with us the first time and 6 years with the New Orleans Hornets. So, Clipper, Chris Paul, I bet you he'll go in a Hall of Fame as a Clipper. 21 years, and this is it. Gonna miss him. And I would say just cherish the moments that he's wearing a Clipper uniform, Clipper Nation. We have 66 more games, regular season. And hopefully he's back in the rotation and will help win games. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I had a raw reaction from the last 2 games, including James Harden's 55-point game on the channel as well. And, of course, Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell to get us up to 8,000 subscribers before the end of November. And, of course, you can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Cleveland on Sunday. We'll have an episode Sunday night. The age-old proverb continues, go Clippers. Shout out James Harden for making history.